Today is Thursday, August 1st. What to know about former President Trump's most recent comments on race, specifically Vice President Harris's race and her response. Also, details of a new plea deal offered to the alleged mastermind of the 9/11 terror attacks. Plus, how police are using drones more often, the latest plan for interest rates, and another Olympian who reached a record number of gold medals. Those stories and even more news to know next. And a quick thanks to our sponsor, Guardian Bikes, the kids' bike brand that specializes in safety and building confident bike riders. Shop Guardian Bikes this summer and save up to 25% off bikes, no code needed. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Starting today, Democrats are voting to officially pick their new nominee for president. Though there's not a lot of mystery about how this vote will end. Vice President Kamala Harris is running unopposed since no other candidate met the requirements to qualify. Plus, an overwhelming majority of delegates have already said they plan to support her. Now it's just time for the actual roll call. The thousands of delegates will have from today until Monday to cast their virtual votes. Normally, this is the kind of thing that happens at a convention. In fact, former President Donald Trump got that support at the Republican National Convention last month. But since the Democratic National Convention is happening after an original deadline to get on November ballots, the DNC is getting it done ahead of time. Former President Trump spoke at the National Association of Black Journalists conference yesterday, and there he questioned Vice President Harris's identity as a Black woman. To be clear, even though Harris was born here in the U.S., her father was born in Jamaica and her mother was born in India. So Harris identifies with both Jamaican and Indian heritage and attended a historically Black university. But yesterday, Trump suggested someone should look into that, saying Harris just, quote, happened to turn Black in recent years. Trump also took issue with the moderator, ABC News' Rachel Scott, who started by asking Trump why Black voters should trust him. He called it a nasty question and called her a disgrace. When asked why he chose to speak at the conference, Trump said he had a message to, quote, stop people from invading our country, saying people crossing the U.S.-Mexico border are taking Black jobs. Well, a lot of what he said at the conference has since drawn backlash. Vice President Harris spoke later in the day in front of the nation's most prominent Black sororities, saying it was the same old show from Trump, one of divisiveness and disrespect. Black Republicans have had mixed reactions. For example, the former chair of the Republican National Committee, Michael Steele, called the whole interview a hot mess. And many other Republicans in Congress called his comments embarrassing and awful. But Congressman Byron Donalds, who is Black, defended Trump, saying he did well at the conference to articulate his plan to make America great again for all Americans. After that appearance, Trump went on to hold a rally in Pennsylvania, his first time in the battleground state since an assassination attempt there just a few weeks ago. The man accused of plotting al-Qaeda's September 11th terror attacks has reached a deal with the U.S. government. He and two of his accomplices agreed to plead guilty. And for that, he'll get a life sentence instead of a death penalty trial at Guantanamo Bay. We're talking about Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who prosecutors say came up with the idea of hijacking airplanes and flying them into buildings. They say he presented Osama bin Laden with his plan in 1996 and helped train and direct some of the hijackers. Mohammed and the other two terror suspects have been in U.S. custody since 2003. But the case has been delayed because of questions over their torture in secret CIA prisons. Prosecutors say the deal was meant to bring some justice to the case, particularly for the families of the thousands of people who were killed on 9/11. But those family members had mixed reactions to the news. As another part of the plea deal, Mohammed and the others agreed to answer questions from victims' family members. They'll be able to submit questions through next month and should receive answers by the end of the year. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is now warning Israelis challenging days lie ahead as fears of a wider Middle East war grow. Just yesterday, Iran threatened harsh punishment for the killing of a top Hamas leader. And the New York Times says Iran's leader specifically ordered a direct strike on Israel. But in a televised address, Netanyahu said Israel is prepared for any scenario. Israel hasn't actually confirmed or denied being behind the assassination of the Hamas leader, but it did take credit for killing a senior Hezbollah commander in Lebanon this week. And Netanyahu said his country has delivered crushing blows to its enemies. Meanwhile, the U.S. is still pushing for a ceasefire. In response to these rising tensions, several airlines have suspended flights to both Israel and Lebanon. The U.S. State Department is also reminding Americans there is a travel advisory for the region, and it asks U.S. citizens not to travel to Israel or Lebanon right now. Dozens of massive wildfires across the western U.S. have now forced thousands of people to evacuate. Among them is the Park Fire in Northern California, which has been spreading tens of thousands of acres a day. Evacuation orders are also in effect for the growing Alexander Mountain Fire southwest of Fort Collins, Colorado, and the Quarry Fire southwest of Littleton, Colorado. Other large fires are burning in California, Colorado, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Montana, Utah, Arizona, Wyoming, New Mexico, and Nevada. The U.S. Forest Service says the sheer number of fires burning right now threatens to overwhelm firefighting resources even before the season peaks. It's already had to request help from Australia and New Zealand to assist with managing the fires burning right now. And unfortunately, the wildfire situation out west is only expected to become more dangerous as extreme heat builds in the region today. Temperatures are expected to be 10 to 15 degrees above average, and the heat wave is expected to last into next week with little rain in sight. All right, we have much more news for you still ahead. But first, let's take a quick break. It's that time of year when you might be going to more special events, whether it's conferences, weddings, or fancy nights on vacations. And for me, I used to dread wearing shapewear under a dress because it would roll up or down, feel suffocating, and just be uncomfortable. Thankfully, I found Honeylove, and none of those issues are a problem anymore. Honeylove has revolutionized compression technology for both comfort and function. It stays put, it uses breathable fabric, has thoughtfully designed details, and so much more. Now I actually look forward to having a reason to grab for my Honeylove shapewear. It makes me feel that much more supported and confident in every outfit. So treat yourself to the best bras and shapewear on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off, honeylove.com/newsworthy. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. The summer vibes are just getting started, so shape your life with Honeylove. This episode is also brought to you by Ibotta. Are you taking a vacation this summer but dreading the cost? With Ibotta, you get cash back on all of your purchases. I figure I'm going to be grocery shopping and buying supplies for myself and my kiddo anyway, so I might as well earn cash back with each shopping trip. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Simply add offers in the Ibotta app, upload your receipt, and that's it. The money is yours. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. And right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code Newsworthy when you register. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code Newsworthy. That's IBOTTA, Ibotta, in the Google Play or App Store and use code Newsworthy. Now back to the news. The Federal Reserve's long-awaited interest rate cut could be just weeks away. The central bank decided yesterday to hold its key rate steady once again, sticking to the 5.25% to 5.5% range that was set a year ago. But Fed Chair Jerome Powell said he's seen encouraging signs in recent inflation data and in the job market. So as long as the economy follows the path it's on, rates could be cut as soon as September. Of course, if that happens, it would pave the way for lowering borrowing costs on everything from mortgages and car loans to credit cards. In response to Powell's latest comments, interest rate futures, stocks, and treasury bonds all rallied. American farmers who have been discriminated against for years are now getting financial aid from the federal government. The USDA says it doled out more than $2 billion in direct payments for tens of thousands of Black and other minority farmers across all 50 states. The payments range from $10,000 to $500,000 apiece. The USDA acknowledged it's, quote, not compensation for anyone's loss or the pain endured. But it's still something. The USDA has a long history of refusing to process loans for Black farmers. When they did get loans, they would often include higher interest rates. And in some cases, the USDA would foreclose quicker than usual when Black farmers ran into problems. Now, the National Black Farmers Association says the new aid is like putting a bandage on somebody that needs open heart surgery. It's now requesting more federal aid and land. Microsoft is now urging Congress to get serious about artificial intelligence regulations. It's especially concerned about so-called deepfakes that can be convincing to make it look like or sound like someone is doing or saying something they never actually did or said. Microsoft says deepfakes are easy for nearly anyone to make and use for fraud, abuse, and manipulation. So the tech giant wants Congress to make it illegal to use AI to impersonate someone else. Already, more than a dozen Republican and Democrat-led states have passed bills to regulate deepfakes, and more bills are up for debate in the U.S. Congress, too. Meanwhile, some tech companies are adding some safety features on their own. Just yesterday, Google announced it was making it easier for people to remove fake or misleading pornographic images and videos created with artificial intelligence. Already, people have been able to request non-consensual content be taken down, and now Google will also filter all explicit results on similar searches. The company says it's also working on improvements to its search engine so it can better differentiate between real and fake content. Swimmer Katie Ledecky is now one of the most decorated American women in Olympics history. She earned her 12th Olympic medal this week when she won gold in the 1,500-meter freestyle race, a race she's undefeated in. She tied the record for the most women's Olympic golds. And Ledecky could still add to her medal count as she has more races ahead of her this week. Also at the Olympics yesterday, the U.S. women's soccer team won its third game in a row, making it to the quarterfinals. And the U.S. men's basketball team won its second game against South Sudan. Yesterday, we also saw men and women complete triathlons in the Seine River. Even though the water quality tested poorly earlier in the week, it was deemed safe for yesterday's events. Today is another exciting one for Team USA. American gymnast Simone Biles will compete in the women's all-around final. Team USA will also be competing in golf, rowing, water polo, beach volleyball, swimming, and more. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. In parts of the country, when people call 911, they're getting some high-tech help. Crime-fighting drones are being deployed to respond to emergencies. Flock Safety is one of the companies leading this charge. Already, it supplies thousands of police agencies in 49 states with license plate readers, gunshot sensors, and analytic software. And it says drones could really come in handy. For example, when there's an Amber Alert and a Flock camera detects a car associated with it, a rooftop drone can be sent to the location in less than 90 seconds. Or say only one officer is available when 2 911 calls come in, the drone can silently track a suspect while the officer tends to another emergency. All that said, there are concerns, mostly over privacy. One ACLU policy analyst wrote that it seems we're moving toward a future where people are always feeling the eyes of law enforcement watching them. Still, Flock Safety is sending its latest batch of drones to police in Scottsdale, Arizona. About 24 other departments around the country have different drone first responders already. And more than 1,500 others use drones for things like crowd monitoring, crime scene investigations, and search and rescue operations. All right, thank you so much for listening today. We will catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Before we go, thanks again to our sponsor, Guardian Bikes, helping kids to learn to ride a bike in just one day due to the way they've designed bikes. Its kid-specific geometry and the unique super stop braking system eliminates head-over handlebar accidents from ever happening. It gives me so much reassurance when my kid uses his bike. The first day my 3-year-old started riding his Guardian bike, he turned to me and said, "I love my new bike." Shop Guardian Bikes this summer and save up to 25% off bikes, no code needed. Plus, receive a free lock and pump with your first purchase after signing up for their newsletter. Terms and conditions apply. Thanks again for joining us and have a great day.